What would you do if a millionaire asked you to be his wife for money, but only for 7 months? Would you take the deal, or would you fear the consequences? Stay tuned till the end of this gripping story, because what happened in the 7th month will leave you shocked, speechless, and questioning everything you thought you knew about love, sacrifice, and destiny. Before we begin, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because we bring you the most dramatic, emotional, and jaw-dropping real-life inspired stories that you won't find anywhere else. For 7 long months, a quiet maid named Clara found herself entangled in a contract that seemed too unreal to be true, a contract that offered her more money than she had ever seen in her life. A contract proposed by none other than Nicholas Devane, a billionaire who had everything the world could offer except for the one thing he truly needed. A wife, but not a wife out of love, not a wife out of passion, but a wife out of necessity, because Nicholas was trapped in a deadly inheritance clause that required him to be married before his 40th birthday or risk losing his empire to a ruthless cousin who had been waiting in the shadows like a vulture. Clara, a maid in his mansion who had spent years scrubbing floors, washing windows, and silently dreaming of a life she could never afford, suddenly found herself standing in front of Nicholas as he laid the terms on the table. 7 months of pretending, 7 months of wearing the mask of a wife, 7 months of luxury, respect, and wealth in exchange for silence, obedience, and secrecy. And while her trembling hands wanted to refuse, her heart broken by debts, a sick mother, and siblings who were starving, pushed her to accept, never knowing that this decision would unlock a chain of mysteries, betrayals, and miracles she could never have imagined. The first month was awkward, a cold silence filling the grand dining halls where Nicholas would sit stiffly across from her, avoiding her eyes, treating her like a business transaction while she struggled with gowns, etiquette lessons, and the endless whispers of the staff who couldn't understand why the maid was suddenly the mistress of the house, and yet, beneath the silence, there were cracks. Moments where Nicholas's facade slipped, when Clara would find him staring at old photographs, gripping his chest in pain, or waking from nightmares that made him sweat and shake like a broken child. And though she told herself she was only here for the money, her heart began to wonder what horrors haunted this man. The second month brought danger, because Nicholas's cousin, Victor, a man with eyes as cold as steel and a smile sharp enough to cut glass, began circling like a predator, questioning Clara at every turn, sending spies to dig into her past. And one night she found a note slipped under her pillow. "You're just a maid. He'll never choose you. Walk away before it's too late." But Clara, despite her fear, refused to back down, because her mother's medicine was bought with Nicholas's money. Her siblings' school fees were paid with his monthly allowance, and she couldn't afford to lose this deal. By the 3rd month, something changed, because Nicholas, who had always been distant, began to notice Clara's kindness. The way she stayed up all night nursing the injured gardener's child, the way she read to her younger siblings through the phone, with a warmth that melted the coldest of hearts. And for the first time, he smiled at her. Not the stiff smile of a billionaire masking his emotions, but a smile that revealed the lonely man behind the fortune. And Clara's chest tightened in a way she hadn't expected, because she knew she was falling for someone who would never be hers. The 4th month was the storm, because Victor struck harder, orchestrating scandals, spreading lies in the press that Clara was a gold digger who had trapped Nicholas with blackmail. And though Nicholas tried to shield her, Clara was humiliated, her past dragged into tabloids, her tears hidden behind closed doors, and yet Nicholas's hand found hers in the darkness, his voice trembling as he whispered, "Stay strong. I promise I won't let them destroy you." And it was then that Clara realized Nicholas was no longer protecting her for the contract. He was protecting her because she had become the heartbeat he didn't know he needed. The 5th month revealed the greatest twist, because Clara stumbled upon Nicholas's medical reports hidden in his study, papers that revealed a chilling truth. Nicholas was dying, his heart failing faster than doctors could fix, and the contract was not just about inheritance, but about leaving this world with dignity, with someone by his side who would care for him, not as a billionaire, but as a man who was terrified of dying alone. And Clara's knees gave out as she cried silently, because the money she thought was her salvation had been bought with his desperation. From that moment, the contract no longer mattered to her. She cooked for him, laughed with him, prayed for him, holding him through the long nights when pain made him weak. And Nicholas, for the first time in years, felt alive. The 6th month brought both love and betrayal, because just as Nicholas and Clara's bond grew deeper, Victor discovered Nicholas's condition and plotted to use it against him, arranging an ambush that left Nicholas collapsed at a charity gala, his heart seizing as Clara screamed for help, her voice echoing through the hall while photographers captured every second. But it was Clara's courage, her hands pressing against his chest, her tears falling on his face, her whispered pleas begging him to fight, that pulled Nicholas back from the edge. And as he woke in the hospital, his weak eyes found hers, and he whispered, "You've given me something no fortune ever could. Hope," before falling back into sleep. And Clara knew then that she loved him beyond contracts, beyond wealth, beyond time. And then came the 7th month, the deadline, the month when the contract would end, the month she was supposed to walk away with her money and leave his world forever. But fate twisted the knife with a revelation Clara never expected. Nicholas's lawyers revealed that Nicholas had secretly rewritten his will, leaving not his empire to her, but something far greater, a legacy of charities in her name, hospitals, schools, and foundation for struggling families like hers. And though he had prepared for death, Nicholas was not gone, because a miracle surgery, a heart transplant from an anonymous donor, saved him in the very week their contract ended. And as Clara packed her bags to leave, tears streaming down her face, Nicholas walked into the room, weaker but alive, holding no contract in his hand this time, only a ring, and with trembling words he asked, "Clara, will you stay? Not as a maid, not as a contract, but as the woman who gave me back my life?" The world held its breath, the empire roared with whispers, Victor vanished in disgrace, and Clara, sobbing as her hands shook, whispered yes, not for money, not for duty, but for love that had bloomed in the unlikeliest of places. And so the maid who became a wife by contract became a wife by destiny. Her story forever reminding us that sometimes the greatest twists are not betrayals, but miracles hidden in the darkest corners of despair.